Welcome to this season No podcast. My name's Marlon and then Slack Captains talk about disability news in the UK. To explore stories and give it your opinion. Though the news sites out there for disability news, disabled people news affects our lives, still underreported, and Japanese men thought we're underrepresented in the media. So in this podcast is a way of trying to address the balance.
And the headline comes from the Disability News Service. Labour Minister Sigrid imposed access to work court last year, DWP update quality reveals. Companies Sigrid imposed a stealth real terms court to the maximum amount disabled people can receive through with access to work employment scheme. Court says the court is most likely to impact disabled people with high communication needs, particularly deaf people who rely on job on a significant number of hours of to provide payment for BSL sign language interpretation. Decision not to update the access to work cap to 160 for 2 successive years does not appear to be announced by ministers, even though it came into effect in April 2025 and was repeated last month. April to April, obviously been to the 2026 to 2027. Double new service and became aware of the 2-year freeze when it was quietly added this week to access to work flagship customers, which was published online by DWP. Yeah, I mean, look, there's nothing. Yeah, did then that implicitly? No, but let's be honest. From what we've particularly I've said about access to work on numerous times, you've got it's nothing really to be surprised. We know they've been cutting access to work for a number of years. There was a prominent chief executive of Disability Arts Organisation. I think it's Jenny Seeley of the Grey Theatre Network in London. Basically came out publicly, talked about the session of her access to work grant, and many others have suffered the same fate. And, I've said it 1,000 times, and it's absolutely revamping access to work. And they've got to be honest about what they actually want. I've said a million times, it feels like access to gaslighting, really. Because views around it and the negative messages they talk about welfare reform at the same time, all the systems that are enabling, all the main drive to allow disabled people with plant-based needs into employment. It's a big separate problems that are institutionally made to prevent disabled people access. I've talked before about Workware and Connect to Work and all the other schemes around it that they're bringing out to, with fast-track access to whether it be job coaches, whether it be NHS, but ultimately to keep people in jobs with complex needs, they're going to need and a funding stream that is consistent and they can rely on to support them to maintain that employment and any others in the future if their needs are consistent. So, is it having recently said it? Yes, but ultimately, is it a real surprise? Not really. And they've got to really think about, and not just them, not just the Labour Party, anybody that comes in really, because it's all very well talking about welfare reform, system exception and so forth, but people aren't stupid, even the wider public now, in terms of, yes, people buy into headlines and media spin, etc. But ultimately, as I've said many times before, it's not just long-term this and what people traditionally view as disabled people. Everybody knows now that, there's a myriad of different health conditions and impairments, and it's affecting a lot more people now. People are living longer, becoming so because of the pressures of the world in terms of grind culture, hustle culture, the fact that people haven't in the last 15 years have kind of had to work potentially harder, cost of living crisis has are bitten, whether it's with the '08 crash and then COVID former. Beyond that, those pictures of are unrelenting and don't seem to be going anywhere anytime soon. So a lot of people becoming ill who've previously never encountered them, whether that's through the stress of work or, as we've seen in the last 5 years or so with the younger people, even before they get into the workplace through mental health and other stress impacts. So, the old arguments that political parties throw out about say don't just, well, they never did hold weight, but they certainly people don't see that and will become more wise to it, even if they are some people that still believe, which they is, but as more and more people feel the pressure and more people kind of get ill, you know, there's also culture in the fact that low pay and wages being cut, and then you've got threat of IR, and then you've got, corporations betting, businesses going bust, whether it's because of legislative changes or energy bills, whatever international tensions they are, they're going to have to come up with a lot better package politically for, the whole getting into work and also for disabled people, support them outside the system because it's unsustainable, not necessarily financially, but in terms of just what's on offer. And as more and more people affected by it, they'll start to realise that all those, in this they were told simply aren't true. So, it will just be unfit for purpose. So, that day's coming. That day's coming.